I'd like to call to order the Board of Trustees of the Office of Foreign Affairs. Let us begin with a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Ahuisa.
Here.
Trustee Ahuna.
Eo.
Trustee Akaka.
Yo.
Trustee Akina.
Aloha mai kaku.
Trustee Lee.
Eo.
Trustee Carmen Hulu Lindsay.
Here.
Trustee Robert Lindsay.
Here.
Trustee Whitehead, excused. Chairperson Machado.
Yes.
8 present. 1.
Okay, members, we are now on Roman numeral 1. We did the distribution of the record of our site visit to Hulu and Mauna Kea, and that's been circulated. There's no action needed. We also have minutes to approve for September 19th. This was our Hawaii Island meeting.
So moved.
Trustee Ahuna, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Roll call vote for approval.
Trustee Ahuisa.
Aye.
Trustee Ahuna.
Aye.
Trustee Akaka.
Aye.
Trustee Akina.
Aye.
Trustee Lee.
Aye.
Trustee Carmen Hulu Lindsay.
Aye.
Trustee Robert Lindsay.
Aye.
Chairperson Machado.
Yes.
8 yes, no.
Members, we are now on public testimony. I'd like to call to the table Mr. Randy Roth. I'm not sure, Mr. Roth, if you've appeared before OHA before, but we do have a 5-minute allowance for your testimony, and we're now circulating your testimony.
Thank you. Aloha, members of the board.
Aloha.
I happen to be a professor emeritus at the local law school, but I'm not here on behalf of it. I'm not here on behalf of any organization. This testimony is mine alone, and it's prompted by what I know of the permitted interrelations group, the PIG. I have some written testimony that provides a bit of additional information, but respectful of your time, I want to just talk specifically about my opinions on this matter. First, I believe that it's patently unfair for members of the PIG essentially to declare Trustee Akina a liar without giving him an opportunity to respond to the allegations. Also, without bothering to explain or defend their own findings. Furthermore, I believe that OHA's rule prohibiting public criticism by a dissenting board member to be fatally flawed for each and all of the following reasons. First, it's premised on an assumption that OHA is a trust governed by a board of trustees. As I have written in the Star Advertiser in the past, I believe there's a lot of confusion on these legal issues. I personally, my own opinion is that OHA is pretty clearly a non-autonomous state agency overseen by elected public officials, and I believe that dictates a lot of specific issues, including the way the board has approached the issue of a dissenting board member wanting to continue to speak out after the majority has reached its decision. Secondly, I believe that the rule in question violates a dissenting board member's constitutionally protected freedom of speech. Third, the rule interferes with a dissenting board member's responsibility as an elected public official to keep his or her constituents reasonably informed. Finally, the rule in question is bad policy, in my opinion, because it reduces the level of transparency and accountability in what, as I have explained, I believe to be a non-autonomous state agency. I've listed in my written testimony a summary of my credentials for talking about what trust law is. I won't bother you now or take your time by reading them, but I do invite you to ask any questions that you might have of me now, or if any of you would like to meet sometime in the future, I would be happy to share my thoughts on what I consider a foundational legal question. I might add that I'm making this offer, and I've made it in the past, because I think this is a particularly important organization. I think your mission, as I understand it, is particularly important, especially in times like these right now. It's critically important, I believe, among other things, that this organization have reasonable transparency, reasonable accountability, and as I have indicated, I believe strongly that the rule in question goes the opposite direction from that. Thank you, and if you have any questions of me, I'd be happy to try to respond.
Chair.
Trustee Kalianali.
Thank you for appearing today, Mr. Ra. So as a Professor Emeritus at the William Richardson Law School, is it fair to say that you're familiar with the Sunshine Law and how that governs permitted interaction groups?
I'm generally familiar with that, yes.
Okay, so are you aware that by law, permitted interaction groups do not allow more than 4 trustees to interact together at any given time?
I understand that it's 4 in this context. The number would vary depending upon the context, yes.
Actually, no, it doesn't number. The law specifically says no more than, oh, I'm sorry, you're correct. In our instance, it would be no more than 4 because it cannot be the majority.
But you're right, in this context, you're absolutely right.
So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that because that's the reason why we were not permitted to interview any other trustee because there were 4 trustees that this board voted on that board. Interviewing another trustee would violate that law.
Right. And I understand completely your point, and I think it's a very good point. I would simply say there's no requirement that there be 4 members of the PIG, and that it would be quite possible to have 3, and then a 4th person there to defend himself, to explain what he had done.
That's true, and we originally had 3, but the board as a whole decided to add a 4th trustee.
And I respect that. It certainly has the power to do that. My testimony today is that I think it was unfortunate. I think it has damaged the way the public looks at this organization and at this board, and because your mission is so important, I think that's very unfortunate.
And you also said that the permitted interaction group gave no explanation for its findings when it presented the report. So you're also aware that by law, we're not allowed to discuss the report in any way, shape, or form on the day that it's presented. That has to come at a subsequent meeting, which is why we're here today.
Yes, my understanding is that the PIG has not even itself reached those findings. In other words, my understanding is that you have that report, which I believe to be quite short and does not include any kind of detail as to how they reached their findings.
Which, again, would not be provided until today.
As we've commented before, there are a number of ways of structuring this, and I really don't intend to criticize the specific decisions you've made, because frankly, I think you're all extremely well-intentioned. I just think a lot of things that you do, including this duty of care and loyalty, as you've described it, is premised on an assumption that at the very least is a very shaky foundation, and in my own opinion, it's not a foundation. In my own opinion, you've in effect attempted to build a delicate structure on sand, and you're going to have a variety of problems going forward until you revisit that foundational question of exactly what is the legal nature of OHA and what is exactly the legal duties, responsibilities, rights of the members of the board. And I just feel very strongly that from a trust law standpoint, OHA is not a trust, as that term is used in trust law. Members of this board, as important as your positions are not trustees, as that term is used in trust law.
And I believe that this board agrees with you, hence the last permitted interaction group, which has now been extended, revisiting our bylaws.
I'm delighted to hear that you're revisiting those bylaws, and again, I would reiterate my offer to be of any help I can be, and if for some reason you would like me simply to connect with some of the trust law experts on the mainland that I think would be happy to help this particular organization,
Thank you, Mr.
I'd be happy to do that.
Trustee Lena Ahu Isa.
I have a question with all due respect, and because you are a professor emeritus of the law school, I'm not too familiar with the PIG. Question, can one who filed a complaint be chair of the PIG committee?
The question, if you didn't hear, is whether somebody who filed a complaint could be chair of the PIG.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Trustee Kalianali.
I am not aware that the structure of how PIGs work is on the agenda today.
You're correct.
When a person of privilege, chair.
Trustee Lena Ahu.
When a person of privilege. that
Proceed.
overrides that.
As I sit here, I can't say with certainty one way or the other as to whether that would be prohibited, but I think anybody would say that would not be a good idea if the whole idea of the PIG was to give an independent review of those complaints.
Thank you, just thought
Mr. Roth,
conflict
I'm
of
sure,
interest. Thank you.
Mr. Roth, I'm sure we'll be seeing you again, because I don't think we agree with you on all of your points, but thank you again for coming. Our next speaker is Kelly Makikau. Please come forward.
And thank you again. I've testified before, and I always feel so much aloha in this seat, and I really, really appreciate it.
Hui
Thank
hou.
you
Thank
so
you.
Thank you, Mr. Roth.
Mahalo.
Our next speaker is Kelly Makikau.
Kelly.
Kelly
East
Makikau.
Kelly.
I said Kelly Makikau. Come on
They
now.
always- they always
Let's
get
not
it.
get technical
They
over
always,
here.
they always get him Kelly and I'm
You have
Kelly.
5 minutes, sir.
See Kelly Ratio. Is this on? Okay. It's on. I hope it's not premature to talk because I was looking at the agenda. My point that I would like to summarize is about the number removal 6 on the, because new business is slated 2 times. But however, my comments is in regards to the CEO election process. I hope this time around, the round of transparency will be made clear if when the selection process is here. I hate to summarize what I went through the last time we were here about a particular topic, because the former CEO, in which I asked this board, and it was announced that he had a renewal on his contract, and I was attending every board meeting at that time. I had asked this board how they voted for this, and to which time your counsel interrupted and then suggested that I did not have the right to bully the board and advised you not to answer that question. So as they say in the legal terms, you had to sort of lawyer up on the matter just to get a simple question answered, was where was the vote? It led me to a FOIA request, which this office, I believe, denied, and then I went to OIP, and they in turn agreed with me, and then this, it was
Mr.
reversed.
Makikau, state your point, please. You're going on and on and on.
Point is, in that FOIA request, I was not given any substance. I was given the contract, but I was never given the vote. The substance of my comments today is, I hope with your new selection process, you will be able to show in open session to the beneficiaries in particular how you exercised your vote, because that was not apparent in the last one. But we're here now, so all I can hope is that that is fulfilled by law. That's it.
Your points are duly noted. Thank you so much for coming. Please stick around for more discussion, because we will be publicly announcing certain terms of the contract.
I believe I stated that in the public session.
Yeah, okay, aloha.
Okay.
We are now moving on to Roman numeral 5. I'll call on our interim CEO for some updates.
Good morning, trustees. Ikalamai first for not being here on time. 2 items. First of all, we wanted to thank all the participating trustees for the Fried Rice Friday Aloha United Way event tomorrow, and thank you for this worthy event. Second, reminder that on Friday, December 13th, the All OHA 1,000 tree planting is scheduled, and so please notify and let us know, because it's going to be a great opportunity to support this effort, as well as kako our lands and engage with our community. So just those 2 announcements, Chair.
Okay, members, thank you. We are now on Roman numeral 6A. It's a presentation of the OHA resolution honoring the life and contribution of Larry Kamakapivaloli to the Native Hawaiian community and other marginalized communities in Hawaii. Before we begin with the presentation, we have lays to present. I'll call on Lopaka to call out those siblings that are here, and also the family members that have taken the time to show up.
wait for it. Madam Chair. Madam Chair and members of the board, Lopaka Baptiste for the Office of Chair Machado. We are privileged here as we make this presentation of the board's resolution today. We have a substantial amount of Ohana and friends of Larry Kamakavivo Ole. As you can see, our boardroom is quite full. And we have a number of the family members who we will be recognizing today. And we thank them for being here as we make this presentation of this resolution. First, we have Julieta Kamakavivo Ole, who is Larry's wife. And Larry was predeceased by his older brother, Peter, but representing Peter, we have his wife, Larry's sister-in-law, Cynthia Kamakavivo Ole. And then we have Larry's brother, Billy Kamakavivo Ole. And Larry's brother, Wesley Kamakavivo Ole. We also have a number of the extended Ohana. This represents some in-laws and nephews and nieces and cousins. As I read your name, please stand to be recognized if able, and if not, just wave from your seat. We have Lou Diaz. Kiali E. Kalehua, Kaheva, Kamehana, Lucinda, and Aaron. Ophelia. Joy. Paul. Sarah. Melissa. Rebecca. Kikilani. Jerry, and Patty. Yeah, Jerry Harbaugh. Mahalo, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Lopaka. I'll call Sterling to do the presentation of our resolution on behalf of Larry.
Aloha, Chair. So I'll read the resolution. A resolution of the Office of
Sterling.
Kalamai.
A resolution of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs honoring the life and contributions of Larry Kamakawiwo'ole to the Native Hawaiian community and other marginalized communities in Hawaii. Whereas Lawrence Larry Kamakawiwo'ole was born in May 1943 in Honolulu, Oahu, to William Kamakawiwo'ole, a bus instructor and dispatcher for the Honolulu Rapid Transit Company, and Winona Kamakawiwo'ole, a substitute elementary teacher. And whereas Larry Kamakawiwo'ole was raised in Palama and Aleva, attending area public elementary schools before enrolling at Kamehameha Schools, where he graduated from high school in 1961. And whereas Mr. Kamakawiwo'ole
earned an undergraduate degree from the University of Hawaii, master's degrees from Pacific School of Religion in Berkeley and the University of Hawaii, and a law degree from the Georgetown University Law Center. And whereas Mr. Kamakawiwo'ole had a long and distinguished professional career, serving as the first full-time director of the Ethnic Studies program at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, a deputy prosecutor for the city and county of Honolulu, and a special deputy attorney general to the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs. And whereas Mr. Kamakawiwo'ole played an indispensable role in the Hawaiian Renaissance, an unprecedented political movement of environmental consciousness and appreciation for Native culture and language. And whereas upon returning from Berkeley in the 1970s, he employed the community organizing skills he learned in graduate school to protest Kamehameha School's Bishop Estates evictions of residents and farmers in Kalama Valley, a seminal land struggle that would help to launch the Hawaiian Renaissance and spark 2 decades of Hawaiian political activism and cultural renewal. And whereas he was a founding organizer and spokesperson for Kokua Kalama Valley and later Kokua Hawaii, which sought to keep special Hawaiian communities intact and uphold basic human rights in housing for the poor and disenfranchised. And whereas he and the other leaders and organizers of Kokua Hawaii broadened the conversation on human rights and housing to include the planned evictions of several other communities in Hawaii, such as Ota Camp, Waiahole Waikane, Heiʻia Kea, Waimanalo, Chinatown, Halaba Housing, and Census Tract 57 in Kalihi. And whereas these leaders established a legacy of peaceful protests and civil disobedience that reshaped Hawaii's laws to recognize the rights of the disenfranchised, including Native Hawaiians, immigrants, and the poor. And whereas Mr. Kamakawiwo'ole's tireless work also helped to lay the foundation for the 1978 Constitutional Convention, the State Office of Hawaiian Affairs, and the Native Hawaiian Legal Corporation, among other institutions that continue to uphold his vision of social justice for Native Hawaiians. And whereas with the recent passing on October 9, 2019 of Mr. Lawrence Larry Kamakawiwo'ole, Hawaii has lost a leader and community advocate who helped to shape the future of Hawaii and the social fabric of our islands. Now therefore, be it resolved that the OHA Board of Trustees expresses its appreciation for the lifelong leadership and advocacy of Lawrence Larry Kamakawiwo'ole, the first full-time chair of ethnic studies at the University of Hawaii and a native son of Hawaii who led the formation of Kokua Hawaii and who embraced and dedicated himself to protecting the poor and disenfranchised. And be it further resolved that the OHA Board of Trustees expresses its gratitude and sends its aloha to the late Mr. Kamakawiwo'ole's ohana and other leaders and community organizers of Kokua Hawaii and their associates for their pivotal work in nurturing mutual respect and collaboration between disenfranchised cultures and communities in Hawaii and the Pacific, and be it further resolved that certified copies of this resolution be transmitted to the ohana of Larry Kamakawiwo'ole, the Department of Ethnic Studies, College of Social Sciences, University of Hawaii at Manoa, Hawaii Nui Akea, School of Hawaiian Knowledge, and the Pelikikena of the Association of Hawaiian Civic Clubs. adopted this 7th day of November 2019, Island of Hawaii, State of Hawaii, Island of Oahu, State of Hawaii, by the Board of Trustees of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs in its regular meeting assembled.
Thank you, Sylvia and Sterling. I have one more presentation to make. I'd like to call Sarah. Sarah, can you come forward? You're the daughter, right, of Larry? You're not the daughter? Okay, I got them mixed up then. You're niece. Okay, sorry, that's not. We have a box, a flag box, and it's for Larry Kamaka Vivole, and I'm gonna call him. Where's Gary? Give him one leg. He deserves 3 legs. Give him 3 legs. Because of Gary, he contacted me when Larry was placed in hospice, and through his effort, we've been able to craft a resolution, and in-house staff did some research from the book. Can you lift your books up, staff, trustees? They researched in his book and they came up with the resolution. But I'm proud to give you, Julietta, I'm proud to give you a flag, and it's for Larry, in honor of Larry. But it's a statement that Gary told me, that he was a remarkable man. And Daviana, who is a professor in ethnic studies, said, you should coin it to Kahu Malama Aina, because he was a Kahu, and in the early years, he Malama the Aina. So again, I'm gonna say, Larry Kamaka Vivaoli, a remarkable Hawaiian, and that's Gary's words, not mine. And then Daviana said, call it Kahu Malama Aina. So I present our Hawaiian flag to you. In honor of tell you, I took a class with Larry Kamaka Vivaole in the 70s when I was at UA. Oh, he wouldn't scare me. First class I walk in there in class, and he's already teaching us these hard lines and alulu all the time. But as he developed all of us in the class, this was back in 1970 when I took his class. Oh, I was a changed person after that. And you can see some of my commitments today with working with the people that do the work, the struggle we used to call it, throughout Hawaii, which led into the work we're doing at TMT as well as in Kahuku and some other protests that's going on. The endurance of this man really taught us valuable lessons, never give up. So Gary, I thank you for bringing this to my attention and communicating with me. And to the family for showing your strong support for your brother, and for the nieces and nephews, you have a tremendous legacy. And thank you all for dedicating him to the work of the people. Sometimes people that do frontline work, they're forgotten, and sometimes they never get the big awards, like the Man of the Year one. But today he's honored as a true patriot for our people. And thank you so much for coming. So I'm going to call a recess. We're going to go outside by our flag on the wall. We're going to take photos with the family. So please stick around. For your patience, I'd like to reconvene the meeting of the Board of Trustees to order. With that said, can we take a motion to recuse ourselves into executive session pursuant to 92-5.4?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, with that said, roll call vote.
Trustee Alonso.
Aye.
Trustee Ahuna.
Aye.
Trustee Akaka.
Aye.
Trustee Akina.
Aye.
Trustee Lee.
Aye.
Trustee Carmen Hulu Lindsay.
Aye.
Trustee Robert Lindsay.
Aye.
Trustee Whitehead.
Yes.
Chairperson Machado.
Yes.
9 yes, 4 votes.
Okay, members, in this situation, everyone will be dismissed